Joining me from Kiev is Yuri Sak, an advisor to Ukraine's Minister of Strategic Decisions. Thank you so much for joining us, Yuri. From your perspective, what do you think is behind Donald Trump's change of stance over Ukraine?
Good afternoon, Annette. In a way, we're not surprised about what is happening now because this is something we anticipated when the peace process began. We have had to deal with the Russians for a very long time, and by now we understand that their intention is to destroy Ukraine. So no amount of negotiations will change their attitude or their strategy. And we were hoping and almost confident that sooner or later, Donald Trump, as the President of the United States of America, will understand this from his in-person conversations with the leader of Russia, which has happened now. And of course, for us Ukrainians, it means a lot because we are finally seeing that the US is going to apply pressure on Russia, and it's already happening. On the other hand, what I have to say is that 50 days from now, and this will be early days of September, we are very skeptical, again, almost confident, that nothing will change. Russia will continue to bomb Ukrainian cities, to kill Ukrainian people, and it will continue its strategy of destroying our statehood, our identity, and our people. So, unfortunately, Russia is weaponizing time. And these 50 days, we are afraid, will be used by the Kremlin to weaponize more, to improve their deadly Shahed drones, to buy more or get more missiles from North Korea and whatnot. So this is the time that will be lost, unfortunately.
Yet, if these last few months are any indication, do you think Donald Trump will indeed hold the line for the next 50 days?
Our Ukrainian team, our political and military leadership, will work day in and day out to continue to convince Donald Trump about the steps that he can take, for example, imposing more sanctions without actually having to wait those 50 days. We need Donald Trump's support when it comes to the provision to Ukraine of air defense systems, and we've heard very positive signals on that. Actually, for your viewers to understand, right now, as we speak, there is an air raid siren, an active air raid siren in Ukraine, in Kiev as well, which means that somewhere in Russia, a fighter jet carrying hypersonic missiles is up in the air, and we can be expecting missiles very soon. But at the same time, right now, Donald Trump's representative Keith Kellogg is now in Kiev. And when he arrived yesterday, all Ukrainians were very happy because we thought, well, we'll have to probably wait till we get more Patriot systems in Ukraine. But for now, Donald Trump sent his representative as a substitute for air defense system. It's a joke, of course, but we hope that at least while Keith Kellogg is in Kiev, the capital will not be attacked the way it was. Last attack was more than 700 Shahed-type drones.
And as you say, those drone attacks keep coming, so those Patriot missiles are important, aren't they? And what else does Ukraine need to defend itself in the meantime?
Well, we need the weapons that will make it impossible for Russia to prosecute this war. We are actually producing a lot of deep strike drones, which we're successfully using to target Russian war machinery inside Russia. Their oil depots, their ammunition depots, the factories where they produce Shahed drones, and so on and so forth. Of course, we need more Patriot systems because they are the only ones capable of intercepting ballistic missiles. And we will benefit, of course, from receiving more long-range and mid-range missiles that we can also use to inflict more damage on Russian war machinery inside Russia.
I want to come back to what my colleague Angela Diffley was just talking about, the story that was published by the Financial Times in which it claimed Donald Trump had asked your president whether the Ukrainians would be willing to strike at the very core of Russia, in other words, attack cities such as Moscow and St. Petersburg. From your perspective, what have you heard and what would you say in regards to that story?
I wasn't, Annette, privy to that conversation, so I wouldn't want to comment on media reports. But I can tell you one thing. Millions of Ukrainians are living a nightmare right now because every time an attack happens on Kyiv, for example, and all other Ukrainian cities, everybody is at risk. We have seen that these attacks result in casualties among civilian population. And of course, we are very angry. These attacks, they don't break our will to fight. They make us more angry. And we are willing to inflict more damage on, again, I will repeat, Russia's war machinery, so that they stop this war. And hopefully that with Donald Trump now seemingly firmly on board with Ukraine in terms of understanding Russia's true intentions, we hope that Russia, Donald Trump's formula, peace through force, will now be implemented, and we hope this can be ended sooner rather than later.
Do you think it's fair, however, for NATO members to be footing the bill?
Well, I think that Ukraine, for example, we believe is already a de facto member of NATO because we are protecting the eastern flank of NATO. When it comes to defense spendings, I think it's a matter for NATO countries to agree among themselves. But when they are discussing and deliberating these issues, they all understand the risks. They understand that the Kremlin will not stop in Ukraine if it is allowed. They understand that Russia is really investing heavily into improving their own military technology. Russia very soon will be capable of launching swarms of deadly drones, not just at Ukrainian cities, but even in other European NATO countries. So, of course, it is important for NATO countries, we believe, to increase their defense spending. And, if there is an agreement, which we believe there is one, because it was announced yesterday at the press conference with Rutte and Donald Trump, we Ukrainians, we want to survive. So, quite frankly, we don't care where the money comes from, as long as the weapons that we need to protect our children are in Ukraine. So it's a very simple thing. It's a common threat. We are now fighting it out and, holding off the Russian aggression. So if there is an agreement between our partners as to how to fund it, we will support it, of course.
Yuri, I just want to take a pause there and come back to what's happening domestically in Ukraine, because the Ukrainian government has announced its biggest cabinet reshuffle since the beginning of the war. Volodymyr Zelensky is saying that the current Prime Minister, Denis Chimgar, will become the Defence Minister. He's going to be replaced by current Economy Minister Yulia Sviridenko. Now, known for her efficiency, she contributed to that hard-fought mineral agreement with Washington. Morgan Eyre has this report.
Tasked with breathing new life into Ukraine's government is Yulia Sviridenko. She has been nominated as the country's new Prime Minister as part of a major cabinet reshuffle.
Today I spoke with Yulia Sviridenko. I proposed that she head the government of Ukraine and renew its work based on all the experience she has in supporting Ukrainian industry and entrepreneurship as the first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Economy.
It was 39-year-old Sviridenko who helped broker the landmark minerals deal between Kyiv and Washington. This hard-fought agreement allows her country to maintain its close partnership with the US, boosting Ukraine's economic potential, expanding support programs and scaling up the country's domestic weapons production are top of the new Prime Minister's agenda. Her predecessor will inherit the Ministry of Defence.
Denis Shmyhal's vast experience will certainly be useful in the position of Minister of Defence of Ukraine. It's in this area that the country's maximum resources, maximum tasks and a great deal of responsibility are currently concentrated.
The battle-scarred nation faces economic hardship and major setbacks on the front line amid Russian advances. But some Ukrainians welcome the political shake-up.
I don't think it's a good time for parliamentary or presidential elections, but some cabinet changes are appropriate. I think that our government and the president have a better view of the situation, and I believe that this is probably the right step to take right now.
Welcome to Ukraine.
Both cabinet appointments need approval by Parliament, but since it's mostly united behind President Zelensky, it's unlikely to be voted down.
I'm watching that report. With me is Yuri Sak, an advisor to the Ukrainian Minister of Strategic Industries. Just finally, Yuri, how critical is this government reshuffle?
our president is the commander-in-chief, and he's the coach, the head coach of the Team Ukraine. At this stage, he believes, and he has his reasons to believe, that these changes are necessary. Yulia Svyridenko is a super efficient professional. Denis Shmyhal is a very efficient. He still is the prime minister, and if he's appointed to become a minister of defense, it will be strengthening our positions. And I would like to stress an important point: the fact that the scaling up of Ukraine's defense industry production is one of the top 3 priorities for the newly appointed prime minister when it happens. That's a very important fact. We have already, as a country, we have tripled our defense industry output. More than 40% of weapons used by the Ukrainian soldiers today are produced domestically. We are producing millions of drones. We have R&D centers that are working on artificial intelligence in new drone systems. So the Ministry of Strategic Industries, which I represent, is looking forward to these changes, and we will continue on the path of becoming self-reliant, self-sufficient, and exchanging our unique knowledge with the defense industries of our partner countries.
Yuri Sak, it's been great speaking to you. Thank you so much.